Hi everyone, Brianna Brockman here, and today I'm starting a new series that I've been planning for a while. Unfortunately not starting on the note that I thought I would be starting it on. This series is going to be called Brianna Talks, and it's going to be a series of me talking about global issues, things like that, like just things that come in my head that I feel like need to be said. These things I normally write in long-winded Facebook posts, but I've come to discover that I feel like I'm not getting the words out right when I write those. Like, I can be a good writer sometimes, but I feel like I speak better than I talk. Or, I speak, totally proving I can speak well right now. I speak better than I write. And I feel like this is a better platform for me to talk about these things that I feel strongly about. So today though, I was planning on posting my vlog video from the football game last Saturday, but I decided that, considering in the light of what's been happening recently in the world, that this is a better thing to start with today. So that video will be coming in a couple days, but I want to talk today about the Las Vegas shooting. And once again, this isn't the note I thought I'd start this series on. I was planning on doing a talk probably about public education, you know, pros, cons, things like that, but after hearing and seeing everything about the shooting, it's kind of put me in a different mood today, and I feel like there's a lot that needs to be said that I don't feel like is being said anymore. When I first heard about the shooting, it was last night, actually, around midnight. I was with my floor mates watching Game of Thrones, and we just finished our episode. And I opened my phone to see Twitter notifications from a bunch of people that I have notifications on, all tweeting something about Las Vegas. So I googled it, and first thing that pops up is Las Vegas mass shooting. And the first thing that ran through my head was, not again. And that's not the first thing that should be running through your head when something like this happens. When something like this happens and you hear about it, it should be, oh my goodness, it's horrible, I feel so sad about that. And sure, I felt that, but things like this have become such, I guess I should say, common. They happen so much now. It seems like every week, every month, there's something in the world that's happening. Some person taking a vehicle and driving through a crowd, or shooting down people, or someone going to a school and shooting at children, or it seems like it's happening all the time. And maybe that's just because we're suddenly hearing about it all the time, or maybe it's because it's become more prominent, or that it's happening more often. The media is very good at seeing things now, things that 20, 30, 40 years ago we weren't seeing all the time. You know, if it had been, you know, about 20 years ago, maybe a little more, a little less, before social media was a thing, we wouldn't have heard about the Las Vegas situation until the next morning, probably. Some people would probably see it that night, but considering it happened at midnight, there really wouldn't be a lot of coverage on it until the next morning. But social media makes it instant. We hear it as soon as it's happening. People were live streaming it. People all over the world were watching it as it happened. And I think that actually has, in my personal opinion, of course, I'm not a how do I put this? I can't be an official judge of that. I'm not versed in these social issues as far as an education goes. It's more my personal beliefs and what I observe. Seeing these things happen in real time makes them more famous. You know, we always hear about, you know, school shootings. But the first school shootings, they're notorious because they were the first school shootings. But you don't really hear about them. There's not really footage from them. It's like they're kind of lost in the past. But more recent ones that you hear about them a lot more, and there's more you can see of them because of social media, people with phones and cameras and just the media, news and all that. They're there all the time. I personally believe that makes these happen more because for some people who are not mentally okay in the head, like mentally ill people, the people who do these shootings, they're not okay in the head. Anybody who thinks that shooting up people is a good solution to something is not okay in the head. I don't care if they end up having a psych evaluation, it says they're perfectly sane, they're still mentally ill. There's no excuse. There's no excuse for that. But these people, I think that the media is making them more famous. We've made the shooters famous. And it's giving more of an incentive to mentally ill people to continue doing it. That's at least where I stand on those situations. That's why I haven't even looked up the name of the guy that was a part of the shooting. I know generally some information about him, but I'm not interested in knowing who he was. He was a sick person who thought that killing hundreds of people was an okay thing. And that's not okay, and he does not deserve to be famous for that. I don't want to know his name. I don't want to know anything about him. I want him to go to jail for his crimes. That's where I stand on that. The other thing I wanted to discuss is another reason why I think these are becoming so prominent. And once again, it can go back and forth on arguments of whether they're more prominent now, like they're happening more often, or if maybe we're just seeing them more. I do believe that they're happening more often. And I believe it's because of all the hate that's in the world. And I don't care your political beliefs, whether you voted for Trump, voted for Clinton, voted in between, didn't vote at all. Whoever's side you stand on in politics, it doesn't matter. Hate right now is a trend. Everybody hates somebody else. If you support Trump, you hate. If you're a conservative, you hate liberals. If you're liberal, you hate conservatives. If you're in between, you feel caught between. Sometimes you hate both sides. The hate needs to stop because the hate is what's causing this to get worse. Hate does not stop hate. You know, I see people protesting against Trump all the time, but yet they're constantly hating and they're saying, you know, if you voted for Trump, you're a horrible person. Some people feel guilt. I know people who voted for Trump and feel sincere guilt about it. And going around telling them they're a horrible person, that's hateful, that's horrible. Some people do genuinely feel guilty. Or maybe you voted for Clinton and maybe you regret that. Maybe you actually like what Trump's doing. It doesn't matter. Whole point is, hating people is only making it worse. We need to be supporting each other. You know, we need to sit and listen. We need to talk to people. You know, you don't sit down with somebody and you go, oh, you voted for Trump, I hate you. You go, you voted for Trump, I'm curious to hear your reasons why. I may disagree strongly with that, but I'd like to hear why you chose that. How do you feel about it now? What are your standings? You need to have a conversation. You need to stop taking a look at somebody and automatically judging them because of their political beliefs. I know people from both sides who I very sincerely love as friends who either voted for Trump or voted for Clinton or vice versa, somewhere in between. It doesn't matter what they believe, I love them because they're my friends and I can have a conversation with them about politics or religion or anything of the sort and not hate them over it. And they don't hate me over my beliefs either. This hate is making it worse. And you can't blame politics necessarily for what's happening either. Once again, these are mentally ill people who will find any excuse to make their fantasies, if you would call them that, a reality. You know, you can't blame Trump for the hate that's in the world. We can only blame ourselves. We're causing the hate. Whether you believe Trump is a hateful person or not, and once again, I'm not taking political sides because I'm kind of in between. It's not my point here. I'm just using this as an example because, especially here in UCLA, it's a common one I see. You think Trump is a hateful person. Okay, I can take that, I understand that, that's fine. When you go and you reverse that hate and you hate him and you hate anyone who supports him, that's when it becomes a problem and you become the problem. It's all about reaction, how you react to the world. If you are seeing hate, what you need to do is react with love, with understanding, with conversations. Don't believe everything you read on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Don't believe everything you see from CNN or Fox News or even CBS or PBS. Whatever you watch, whatever you get for your news, double check it everywhere. Because everybody has a little bit of bias. They teach us that in school. Everybody has a bias some way, somehow. And you can't use one specific source for the truth because everybody's truth is different. My truth is different from everyone else's. I'm speaking my truth right now. You may see this video and completely disagree. You may not believe my truth. You may say, that is a load of lies. I would disagree. I think I'm speaking truthfully. But everybody thinks differently. Everybody sees things differently. You might say, Trump is not the problem here. Clinton is not the problem here. Politics are not the problem here. We are not the problem here. That's your truth. That's okay. The whole point is, we need to stop focusing on the negative. The world has become a place full of pessimists. Everywhere I turn, it's some sort of negative thing. Everything I see on Facebook from my family and friends is something negative, whether it's about politics or about school, about family. I don't see posts about people going, I felt really good today. I never see a post where someone goes, today was a good day. I see posts of, wow, today was a horrible day. We're looking for problems. We're causing problems by doing that. We're looking for every little negative thing in our life. When the election happened, I went to school the next day, and I went to school in a very liberal area. I totally, once again, no issue with that. I was cool with it, but the morning after the election, I felt like I walked into a funeral. Granted, it was understandable, but I literally felt like I walked into a funeral. It was the most depressing thing I'd ever seen. Teachers were sad. We had one teacher leave school. It was horrible. I left school halfway through the day because I could not handle it. It was so negative. 2 days later, I took a break from social media for 2 weeks because I couldn't handle it. Everywhere I looked, it was horrible. We're constantly throwing hate at each other, and we're constantly making everything negative. There is a lot of problems in the world. That is true. But we're only making it worse by continuing to find those problems, to look for those problems, instead of trying to fix them with love and understanding and conversations. Every summer, or mostly every summer, I go to this thing called Cal State Week. It's a scholarship competition program through a program called Youth Focus. It's a really great thing, and I'll talk about it another time. Every time I leave that week, I feel like I'm walking on air. I feel like I can literally do anything and I can change the world with the simplest of actions, and that is true. Because when I go there, I'm surrounded by people who do nothing but love each other and care about each other. I know this sounds super hippie, but it is the most uplifting experience, and it is the one thing I look forward to every summer. Because I get surrounded by the most amazing people who have become family to me. And all we do is uplift each other and remind each other that we can change the world. We hold hands and we sing what we call share songs, or these, silly little uplifting songs like One in the Bond of Love or Carry Your Candle. And we talk about changing our worlds with service and love. And I still, to this day, even with all this hate and all this pain, I believe that we can change the world. If we learn to stop hating everything and looking for the wrong in everything, if we start using love and understanding, I think that we could change things. Because hate only breeds hate. Love breeds understanding and more love. I truly believe that if we can learn to do that as a society, these things will stop. And I know some will argue that this is an issue of gun violence or gun ownership. And some will argue that it's because there's racism, or because there's a million reasons you could say why this happened. But it comes down to the simple thing of hate. Hate and anger is flooding this world right now. It has been for a very long time. Media makes it worse. Social media is at an all-time high usage right now, and it is making the problem worse. I'm not saying we need to get rid of social media. You don't need to go delete your Instagrams and Twitters and Facebooks and MySpace or Tumblrs, whatever you use, or your Tinders or whatever you use. You don't need to go delete it. Just start looking for more positive things to talk about. Start loving each other instead of hating each other, and things like this won't happen. With that said, I definitely want to say that my thoughts and love all go to everyone affected by the shooting last night in Las Vegas. It really is a horrible thing, and it's terrifying to think that things like that can happen anywhere at any time, no matter what. So always remember to love everybody, to tell people what you feel, because you really never know when something like this could happen. And with that said, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you for listening. Keep an eye out for more videos like this talk, and make sure to like and subscribe right here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!